The battle for Pokrovsk has become one of the most consequential and fiercely contested chapters of the war in eastern Ukraine. What began as another Russian push across the Donetsk front has evolved into a symbolic confrontation, a fight not only for territory but also for narrative, leverage, and legitimacy. In early December 2025, when Russia publicly declared that Pokrovsk had been captured, the announcement triggered global headlines. But Kyiv immediately rejected that claim, insisting that its troops still held ground and continued fighting inside the city. Today, the struggle over Pokrovsk is unfolding on two interconnected fronts: the battlefield itself and a widening information war that is shaping diplomatic calculations across Europe, Washington, and Moscow. The first shock came on December 1st, when Russia's military leadership abruptly announced that its forces had taken full control of Pokrovsk. The declaration was delivered through official military channels, accompanied by video footage that appeared to show Russian soldiers entering the city center, walking past shattered buildings, and raising the Russian flag above a concrete administrative structure. For Moscow, the message was clear. This was meant to be a turning point. The announcement was quickly reinforced by a statement from President Vladimir Putin during a frontline visit, where he congratulated troops on what he described as the long-awaited liberation of the city. In his remarks, he referenced Pokrovsk by its Soviet-era name, signaling both symbolic continuity and Moscow's political intentions for the region. The timing of Russia's announcement was striking. For months, Russian forces had been grinding forward through the industrial outskirts of the city, relying on drone swarms, incendiary artillery, mechanized advances, and a relentless strategy of attrition. By late autumn, Russian units had penetrated deep into the southern and southeastern districts. Kyiv acknowledged that the pressure had intensified, but continued to dispute the idea of a total breakthrough. Thus, when Moscow proclaimed victory, the world instantly asked a single question: was Pokrovsk truly lost? Kyiv's response was swift, categorical, and strategically important. Ukrainian military spokesperson Dmytro issued a public statement dismissing the Russian version of events. He insisted that Ukrainian defensive positions remained intact and that fighting was still underway inside the city. The position of the Ukrainian command remained stable, said Dmytro. That line, delivered with deliberate simplicity, reflected a broader message from Ukraine's leadership. The battle was not over, and Russia's claim was premature, exaggerated, or strategically motivated. Ukraine's Air Assault Forces commander, Yevhen Lasychuk, gave a more detailed assessment that further contradicted Moscow's narrative. Speaking to national media on December 5th, he emphasized that Ukraine still retained operational control over critical northern sectors of the city, particularly rail-linked zones vital for movement and resupply. As of today, there is no encirclement or blockade of Pokrovsk, said Yevhen Lasychuk. His comments painted a picture of a divided city, one where Russia may indeed have made significant advances, but where Ukraine's control, though strained, remained far from extinguished. To understand the stakes of this moment, it is important to grasp what Pokrovsk has become after months of continuous bombardment. Once a thriving logistics hub with a population of around 60,000, the city has endured one of the most destructive Russian offensives since the battles for Bakhmut and Avdiivka. Independent correspondents who visited earlier in the autumn found a city in slow, relentless collapse. Streets once filled with commuters and factory workers now lie buried under concrete dust and broken glass. Drone footage shows an urban landscape torn apart, block by block, schools flattened, apartment towers sliced open, coal yards abandoned, railway lines buckled, transformers burned out. Those scenes are not the result of a single catastrophic strike, but of an unending cascade of missile barrages and artillery fire. Even after Russia claimed control of the city center, attacks did not stop. Ukrainian units still operating in the north have reported wave after wave of glide bombs, loitering munitions, and anti-armor strikes aimed at cutting off their remaining supply corridors. The humanitarian situation is even bleaker. During the early stages of the offensive, thousands of civilians evacuated westward, often under shell fire. But many elderly residents and some families with limited means remained trapped. Reports now suggest suggests only a few hundred civilians are left, taking shelter in basements, improvised bunkers, and abandoned garages. Access to electricity, clean water, and heating is minimal. Medical services are non-existent. Pokrovsk, in essence, is no longer a functioning city. It is a frontline island where every block represents a contested piece of ground. Pokrovsk's importance extends far beyond its city limits. Strategically, the city sits at a transport junction that connects central and western Donetsk with major supply arteries across the region. Before the war, it served as a logistics lifeline for both industrial and civilian operations. For Ukraine, it has long functioned as a base for troop rotations, fuel storage, drone detachments, and humanitarian shipments. For Russia, capturing the city or convincingly claiming to capture it carries several strategic advantages. A firm hold over Pokrovsk would tighten Moscow's grip on the western Donetsk region and create a more favorable defensive line for the coming winter months. It would also erode Ukraine's ability to reinforce nearby towns that are still contested. With high-level diplomatic efforts underway, including recent US envoys meeting President Putin in Moscow, any visible territorial gain could give Russia greater leverage in negotiations. A claimed victory at Pokrovsk strengthens Russia's position in potential future ceasefire frameworks. By raising the Russian flag over a destroyed city center, Moscow seeks to send a symbolic message to Ukrainian troops, international audiences, and domestic viewers that momentum is shifting in Russia's favor. Published victory narratives are part of a broader psychological strategy designed to undermine morale and to create the impression of inevitability. Control over Pokrovsk, if absolute, could disrupt key westward routes that Ukraine relies on to supply its eastern defenses. But according to Ukraine, these routes remain open, at least for now. Ukrainian soldiers holding out in the northern districts describe conditions as some of the most punishing they have faced since the early phase of the war. The defensive lines have become fluid, with constant repositioning, counterattacks, and nighttime operations to maintain mobility. Ukraine's ability to continue operating inside the city is partly due to innovative logistics. Drone-based delivery of ammunition and medical supplies has become a critical lifeline. Lightweight drones make fast, low-altitude runs across devastated districts, avoiding Russian jamming fields when possible. Evacuation of wounded personnel is far more complicated, often requiring armored vehicles to move through areas exposed to direct fire. Despite these difficulties, Ukrainian commanders insist that their troops are not encircled and still maintain control of vital terrain. Holding even a fraction of the city serves a larger strategic purpose. It prevents Russian forces from consolidating, slows their advance further west, and maintains a foothold for future counteroffensive movements. The conflicting narratives around Pokrovsk are part of a broader information war that has characterized this conflict since 2022. Both sides recognize that controlling the narrative can influence international diplomacy, military aid calculations, and domestic morale. Russia's sudden declaration of victory appears designed to create the perception that its offensive is succeeding on a strategic scale. For Ukraine, contradicting that narrative is essential not only to maintain morale but to keep Western support steady as winter strains supply lines and energy grids. Independent verification remains extremely difficult. Access to the area is restricted, drone footage is often incomplete, and frontline positions shift rapidly. As a result, even international media outlets are cautious with their assessments, stating that the true situation remains fluid and difficult to confirm. Pokrovsk's fate matters well beyond Ukraine. Several international developments amplify the significance of this battle. Recent meetings in Moscow between President Putin and envoys sent by President Donald Trump underscore that both sides are now exploring diplomatic options. The US delegation, which included Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, emphasized the need for a political settlement. Russia, however, appears intent on strengthening its negotiating position first. A claimed battlefield victory, even if contested, bolsters Moscow's argument that it is negotiating from a position of strength. Russia has intensified its long-range attacks, targeting Ukraine's energy grid and logistical hubs. These strikes complicate Ukraine's ability to sustain winter operations, including those in Pokrovsk. Power outages, fuel shortages, shortages, and damaged rail networks all threaten to reduce operational capacity on the front. European leaders remain deeply concerned that battles like Pokrovsk reflect a trajectory toward broader regional instability. Each major Russian gain increases pressure on European governments to calibrate their support, whether that means accelerating weapons transfers, tightening sanctions, or pushing more aggressively for ceasefire negotiations. Beyond strategy and diplomacy lies the profound human cost. In the early days of the Russian assault, evacuation corridors were overwhelmed. Many evacuees described journeys through burning neighborhoods, mortar strikes, and collapsed roadways. Some did not survive. Others were forced to leave behind sick relatives who could not be moved. Now, those who remain in Pokrovsk face conditions that humanitarian organizations describe as catastrophic. There are reports of families living for weeks in underground coal shafts, relying on melted snow or delivered bottles of water. Food scarcity has increased, with local stocks depleted and supply convoys unable to reach the area. For soldiers on both sides, the fighting has been relentless. Accounts from frontline units speak of exhaustion, trench foot, exposure, and psychological strain. The winter cold, exacerbated by destroyed infrastructure, compounds every hardship. The next phase of the battle for Pokrovsk will depend on several key factors. If Ukrainian forces lose access to remaining supply routes, a controlled withdrawal may become inevitable. But if they hold,